All right, let's try Dave again. Dave, how you doing, buddy? You there?
What's up, Ryan?
You, buddy. Yep, I got you.
Dave.
Thanks so
There he
much,
is.
Dave.
What's up, Dave?
Hey, Dave, great stuff today, and I've been so interested in the uniform stuff. I want to start off the field first, if I can. What do we know about the uniforms? What did Rod Wood say about the uniforms? Always a hot topic.
Yeah, people love uniforms. That's for sure. I mean, anytime you tweet about it, write about it, people just lap it up. The Lions are not going to have new uniforms in 2023. I know there's a lot of speculation that they would. Some players have sort of hinted at new uniform designs coming. It's in the process, though, so 2024, you should see a complete redesign of the Lions uniform. That doesn't mean, new color scheme or anything like that, but as Rod told me yesterday, it'll be a little more dramatic maybe than what the Lions did the last time around. So it'll be a new alternate jersey, and next season, 2023, the Lions will unveil their new alternate helmet. So they will have a new helmet that they will wear with their gray uniforms next season.
Hey, Dave, you've talked to Rod Wood a lot. What is his tenor been like over the last couple of months since the offseason? I mean, they did a lot of winning this year, and it feels like everything is in place for this organization to take the next step. How different is his confidence level moving forward, just in your interactions with him?
Yeah, no doubt, and that's really, I wrote about that for the column that'll post tomorrow. I know we put up the uniforms and the Germany game and those things first, but really the bulk of what Rod and I talked about was exactly that, just the optimism that abounds around this team right now, and I think it's unlike anything that he's seen during his 8 seasons or so as Lions president, and I would venture to say unlike anything most fans have seen recently, at least. I think 2011 there was a lot of optimism. Matthew Stafford was young, and Ndamukong Suh was young, and they were coming off that playoff appearance. But the way the Lions finished this season, winning 8 of 10, and narrowly missing the playoffs. I think there's just a lot of people that are looking ahead to say, hey, we have 4, first and second round picks. We have all this cap space. We make a move or two. The NFC North is going to be a little bit down potentially. This is finally a chance for the Lions to claim the top of the division and maybe get a home playoff game.
Dave, while we're sticking off the field for 1 second, I want to ask, did you talk to him about Calvin Johnson's comments a week ago, saying he was close to kind of getting back into the organization a little bit? Does he address that at all?
Yeah, I did. That's another piece that'll post too at some point here on Freak.com. Got a whole bunch of juicy things that'll be going up.
I don't want to break it, but again, you tell our audience that they're going to be able to find that stuff, and we'll talk about it tomorrow once it posts.
Yeah, look, the Kelvin thing, and that might not post till later in the week, but regardless, I think it's still, it's still up in the air a little bit. There's strides have been made, without a doubt, between Kelvin and the organization. Rod is he's kind of handed that off from a Lions standpoint. It's Mike Disner that's running point on that. I'm repairing that relationship. I think there's a lot of hope on both sides that this thing gets resolved, and ultimately the Lions went through it with Barry. I know Kelvin obviously had some hard feelings, I think for good reason, for what went on. I know people in his corner have told him it's important to have the team back in his good graces, and I do think that's going to happen at some point here in relatively short fashion.
Dave, last Tuesday I had a birthday. I'm 40 now, so I'm a part of the club now.
Hey,
man. So I'm in the 40 club now. I appreciate that.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
100%, man. I'm a man. I'm 40. Brian talks about off the field. I want to jump on the field, and you just mentioned it. You said this year coming up, 2023, they're going to challenge for the NFC North, and that's a real deal. You look at the NFC landscape. No quarterback in the 49ers, although they're an amazing team. No quarterback. The Eagles, a lot of players, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, NFC's wide open. I'm not going to ask you who do they need to draft. Who do they need to get in free agency? I'm just going to ask you a simple question. What do they need to do to be that team that does what Cincinnati did 2 years ago?
Hey, Bray, I think we've talked about it before, right? Like the AFC and the NFC are just in 2 different stratospheres right now when it comes to quarterback play, and
it's like the East and the West in the NBA in like 2000.
And it's part of the reason why people are so optimistic about the Lions, right? And the AFC, it's Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen, and throw Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence and all these guys in the mix. In the NFC, look, the 49ers have a really good roster. And the Eagles, I know they have a lot of free agent decisions to make, but they've got a really good roster too, and they've got draft capital. So those teams aren't going anywhere. Dallas, pretty good defense, right? But, the NFC is open for the taking, and I think the Lions feel like, they have this window of contention. I mean, one little snapshot to that is, exactly what Rod told me about playing in Germany next year, that he wants to play a road game against the Chiefs there, A, because it's better for the Lions, right? I mean, it's not less of a home field advantage, but B, he doesn't want to have to give up a home game in 2024. He'd rather push that to 2026 or 28. So the Lions see this as a window of opportunity that they have right here to contend. And I think as you look at the NFC, if they are able to add, to answer your question, a defensive playmaker or two in free agency and the draft, if they're able to keep that offense humming like it was last season, right? Maybe that's adding another guard. Maybe that's just, cementing the running back position.
There it is.
Whatever it is, right? Just adding another playmaker to complete the offense. I don't think there's any reason why the Lions shouldn't contend for the NFC North title.
Hey, Dave, thanks for coming on again. I know you're on your way to the Combine. There's going to be a lot of action coming up in Indy. And I just wanted to talk to you about the draft coming up. I know you put your mock out a few days back, and we talked about it. Obviously, everyone's got, let's take a cornerback. We got to take a cornerback at 6. Got to take him. But then you had Bijan Robinson slipping to 18, and the Lions jumping on him. And that's Ryan's guy.
That's my dream.
Bijan Robinson. My dream guy's a quarterback. But I guess we won't talk about that. But I just want to get your take on the quarterback class that is going to be here. It was a big 3. Now it's a big 4. Anthony Richardson joins the fray, I think. He is moving up the charts. I don't know. I think most of these quarterbacks will be gone inside the first 8 picks. I just want your opinion on that. And do you think the Lions will grab a quarterback at any point?
No, I think you're right that those guys are probably looking like all, let's call it top 10 picks. I think I had Anthony Richardson slipping into the teens in my mock, but he has higher upside than anyone, so he could be he could go number 2 to Houston, if I'm being honest, if I might do that mock, right? But look, and me, Maz, I'm on the probably driving the quarterback train for the Lions for a couple of years now, like never off it. But
we're on it with
I think at the end of the day, this draft is Bryce Young is the best quarterback, despite the concerns about his size. C.J. Stroud is probably number 2, both because of the tools that he has and sort of the safety that he provides compared to the other 2. And you got the 2 defensive playmakers, obviously, at the top as well. So if one of those 4 happens to slip to number 6, if I'm the Lions, I run the card up. I don't think any of those 4 do. And, Levis and Richardson, they just, they have the tools that sort of make you drool, but they're also sort of farther away from reaching their potential. So I think, given where the Lions are and what we just talked about, this window of opportunity that they have right now, I think they would err more on, fixing that defense, taking a playmaker, contending, than taking a lottery ticket and waiting to see if it cashes. But having that second first-round pick affords them the luxury of taking a quarterback if there's really one that they like and they think, hey, give it a year and this guy can be our Patrick Mahomes.
Man, just your take on this, Dave. You already have 5 solid rookies on defense that you're building this team with. Why not just sign a Bobby Wagner or Jalen Ramsey? What do you think that's in the realm of possibility? Because I know back in the day, it's not. They're not signing these guys. But this is a team that I think is ready to win a playoff game or more.
Yeah, and adding a player like one of those 2 would certainly do it. I think Wagner at this point in his career is probably more a stopgap, where you're still going to get maybe 3 good years out of a Jalen Ramsey, depending on the contractual stuff, or a Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know exactly what his contract is like, but perhaps there's an opportunity to trade for one of those guys. Looking, a little sneak peek of what I wrote in my column for tomorrow. Rod did say that. He expects the Lions to, I think he said they have the capital to be more active than they've been the last couple of years. And whether that means bringing players in who, aren't currently on the roster, re-signing their own. He said it'd be a combination of both. I think there are guys that they could go out and target specifically on defense. If you can add, one more prominent playmaker, I guess, that can have a big impact on the entire unit.
Talking to Dave Birkett, Detroit Free Press Lions beat reporter on his way to the Combine now. Lots of great stuff going on there. Before I get off, I guess we could get off the draft for 1 second because I want to ask you about that flexibility this offseason. They've already let go Michael Brockers to free up some space. Do you anticipate a couple of more moves to free up some space? And then the elephant in the room, and you wrote about this as well, is Jalen Ramsey. Is this a real possibility? Is this a player that Brad Holmes would make a move on and do away with some of that draft capital?
Let's hit the second question there first. I don't know, just to be frank. That's part of what I hope to ascertain down in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
I think, the Lions make sense for all the reasons people already know about, right? They need a cornerback, and Brad's ties to the organization, and we've seen some players be active in trying to recruit him on social media. So I think there could be a fit there. Now, look, if it takes pick 18 and you think you can get, let's just call it the second best cornerback on your board, right? Whoever that may be, and you have that guy locked up for 5 years at a cheaper price, is it worth it? I think that's a different discussion that you have to have organizationally. So I think it's possible, but I don't know anything one way or another right now to say how likely that is for the Lions.
What do you think that takes? Does it take a one? Like
no way. I'm not giving a one.
Peter King, Peter King said yesterday I could see a late first round pick, like a 26-31, or I could see 2 2s, like a 2 and a 3, or something like that. What does that take? What does that even look like?
Ultimately, I do think it probably takes a 1, and we're not talking number 6. I think that would be way, way, way too rich. But, if you're talking a pick in the bottom half of round 1, especially those are contending teams usually, right? And so, as we talked about with the Lions, if they see themselves having a window like, hey, we've got 3 years here, we need to make a run for this right now. Let's go get a guy that we still think is one of the best cornerbacks in the game. Well, that's well worth pick number 26 or whatever it's going to cost. So if you're the Lions and you don't pick till the middle of round 2, the price for you is probably number 18, or maybe it's your second and third, or whatever, some combination of capital that you have. So, yes, I do think they could get a first round pick for him, but it's just going to come down to what kind of suitors and how many suitors, I guess, the Rams have, if they do decide to sell him. Because here's the other thing, Ryan, like Sean McVay's back, Matthew Stafford's back, Aaron Donald seems like he's back, right? So if you're the Rams, aren't you trying to take one more run at it too? Like, sure. I'm not totally sold that the Rams, are selling off all their parts this year based on who they still have coming back.
100%. Totally agree.
Dave, last one from me. I'm going to go back to the quarterback again. They're going to have to pay Jared. They're going to have to pay Jared Goff. Okay, they're going to have to pay him. Daniel Jones is looking for $45 million. So that means let's say he gets 40 or 38. That's what you have to pay Jared Goff. So here's a chance for this team to get their real, true blue quarterback of the future at number 6. I'm saying it. I'd rather have a quarterback at number 6 than take one of these other guys. I'm not talking about Jalen Carter and Will Anderson. I'm not talking about them. Because if they slip, I'm running the card up. But they're not going to. So if I take my quarterback at 6, back in the day, the quarterback gets picked this high, he's going to a crappy team. The Lions are ready to win. They have the offensive line. They have the quarterback. They have the running backs, the wide receivers. They have a great offensive coordinator. This is a chance. I'm not saying the kid has to start. He's got 2 years behind God, so you pay him $35 million, for now. This is a perfect situation for a young quarterback.
Well, I think all the points you made are, why it's feasible for the Lions to draft one, and why this debate rages on. And look, it's going to cost, just talking average salary, right? There's different ways to spread that out over the cap. I mean, it's going to cost $45 million is what it's going to cost probably to redo Goff, because by the time he signs, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts are going to have new deals, and Kyler Murray got $46 million last year, and he plays PlayStation instead of studying his playbook. So it's not going to be cheap. Now, the one thing that Brad said at the end of the year is that it's still, it's much easier to get worse at quarterback than get better, and that may be talking a little bit out of fear at the position, right? But I mean, Jared Goff had a good season last year. He's going to be the starter this year, right? Maybe you don't want to make a move to to keep his confidence up, or whatever impact that might have on him. But Maz, I'm with you that it at least has to be considered because of the salary ramifications, really, of paying him in a year or two, or this summer, or whenever you have to pay him, and then the ability to have a young guy on a cheap deal to build the team around.
This is it. You're not picking at 6 anymore. This is it. This is the last bus stop.
And hey, we've said that for years. Right? This is the 5th straight year that they've had a top 10 pick, and I know I wrote that back in the fall, that it's when you have that, to not come away from that stretch with a quarterback, it sort of boggles the mind. Like it's something that, in my eyes, you have to do, right? Sort of organizational malfeasance. Now the Lions have, they've overcame that, right? They were a really good team by the end of the season, and I think they can be going forward. And so maybe that changes the outlook. But at least in my eyes, all avenues have to be considered with those top picks.
Hey, Dave, we appreciate it, my man. Can't thank you enough. And yes, I am on the Anthony Richardson at 6, Bijan Robinson at 18 train. I am on that train. Screw your defense. You see what Patrick Mahomes did to the Eagles in that second half.
That was a hell of a defense.
Hey, and don't forget, Dave.
So Chris Jones and Frank Clark won on the other side.
Well, hey, man, look. The New England Patriots drafted 10 quarterbacks while they had Tom Brady on the roster. Just think about that.
They traded 3 of them for pretty good deals.
Dave, we'll be looking forward to these columns throughout the week and weeks. I remember covering spring training. Was there for 4 days. Got 4 weeks worth of stories. They all trickle out. Thanks, Dave. We appreciate it, my man. You got it.